And got a very interesting guest on, and man, we got a cool topic today. We're going to be talking about health and functional medicine and just being the best person that you can be, because we always want to be the best, right? That's why we're listening to podcasts. That's why we're trying to make ourselves better. I got a multi-practice owner, a 2014 VCU graduate. He is a health coach. He's working with a functional medicine practice, does all sorts of biohacking stuff, really cool stuff. Just happy to interview today. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Peter Dinh. What's happening, Peter?
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited to. I love this like biohacking stuff, and it just I read more I read about it, the cooler it is. But you are a multi-practice owner, and we are a dental podcast, so I think we should talk how that relates to what you're doing now. But talk about practice ownership. How did you get into not one but two practices?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it started in 2017 for me, but prior to that, prominent figures like Mark Costas, Bulletproof, all that stuff came out when they had like 10 episodes. So I was
Hmm.
just listening to all those things and found out that I like the idea of having an asset, to create freedom for myself. And so bought my first practice in 2017. Had a lot of struggles at the beginning. I had a lot of guilt going into day-to-day practice, just like I felt like I wasn't doing enough. And I just felt like I was avoiding a lot of the hard work and I couldn't put my finger on it. I always had things like focus issues. I was the guy in the library that would, the classic story of you go to the library for like 80 hours and you study 2 hours and you take lots of
Yeah,
breaks. And so I
yeah,
always thought it was normal, and yeah, everyone does it. Apparently, there's a lot of cool things that you can measure to figure out like why that is. And so I just kept hitting a wall in trying to grow my practice, but mainly, if we're trying to grow our practice, high level leaders will say that the bottleneck is ourselves, right? And so my go-to was how do I level up myself to grow my practice? And so I got into the biohacking stuff. I woke up at 4 o'clock, did all the things that you read about, cold showers, journaling, meditation, you name it, smoothies. So I found out that my low energy and high guilt was reduced when I did all these things. And
mhm,
so my plan was if I optimize myself, my team is happier, they work harder, and the practice grows that way. And so over time, bought the second practice. And I had a friend that just wanted to not be in corporate. And so I was like, oh, I guess I could help you out and buy something. Wasn't in my plan necessarily. I listened to Mark and I was like, oh, buying 10 offices in 10 years, sell it, roll it up. Like that's the game plan, right? But I'm like, I guess it kind of fits. Let's just do this. And so I bought that practice and just I would run into the willpower issue. I would avoid like looking at my numbers. I would avoid having difficult conversations, and that started to build over time. And it was challenging manage my team. And so fast forward to the future, I met a person named Alistair, someone that we share a mutual friendship with, and gave me a lot of insights and advice about how to optimize myself. And so that kind of started the journey of it all. And so from there, I created time for myself. I realized that the journey of 10 practices in 10 years was not necessarily my dream goal. It didn't make me feel good in terms of the overall outcomes and feel good in terms of the journey. And so I created a lot of time. I hired a bunch of associates, got myself out of the dental chair. And for about a year and a half, 2 years, I worked one day a week. And, obviously during those times, I didn't make a ton of money, but I had a lot of time. And so I really looked inwardly. I really, did lots of walks to really try to find out what I enjoyed. Freed up my wife. My wife is an internal medicine doctor. She's a DO. She did a residency at an MD location in South Carolina
mhm.
for her residency. And she just realized that she didn't like prescribing medications or being incentivized to prescribe medications. So she wasn't solving the root cause. And because I had freedom, I helped her start her own journey of learning about functional medicine, where we find the root causes of diseases. And so, obviously, as she gained her mastery of, or learning rather, the beginning of her journey, I was one of her first guinea pigs. So we did a bunch of testing, and we found out that uh, I was missing a portion of the gene that allows you to recycle dopamine efficiently. We found out that the species of bacteria that was in my gut that I was lacking didn't allow me to produce dopamine very efficiently. We found out I had leaky gut. I had some mild allergies. And so, as we started to dial in deeper and solve some of these issues, like yeast overgrowth, for example, it just got easier. It just got way easier. I was able to control myself a lot more. When I came home from work, I wouldn't feel burnt out. I would look forward to seeing my family versus wanting to avoid them. Looking back, I realize now that I was avoiding them because I was trying to recover my neurotransmitters, you know? And
Mm.
so they say that 70% of your serotonin is created in your gut. So my gut issues didn't allow me to connect with fulfillment very well. So that's kind of
Yeah.
like the start of it all, of me getting into this whole field. And I jump into her world now, helping her with health coaching because been able to free myself up from the dental chair. And so I'm just enjoying jujitsu and enjoying my 4-year-old and 2-year-old, and I got a third one on the way. That's a baby girl, so 2 boys and then baby girl coming up.
Nice.
So looking forward
Oh,
to it.
that's awesome, man. Congratulations. And I mean, we just took a long journey and just, made it really short there. But like take me back to like the time when you like were like, there's something wrong, like something's missing. I mean, you mentioned feeling guilty at your
Mhm.
practice. Talk about that a little more.
Yeah, just I don't know. There was a study that showed that trauma in mice can last 7 generations. You
Hmm.
know, I come from a heritage in the Asian culture, the Vietnamese heritage of you got to get A's, you got to work hard, you got to do the right thing. And as you know, life isn't about right and wrong. It's about different journey pathways. And so I always had this sense of guilt of not doing enough, and part of that also stemmed from my academic journey. If you want to go back even further, I got rejected to 39 dental schools.
Mm.
Every academic test that I took, I had to take 3 times. Apparently, my English, skills are bottom 10th to 20th percentile on every national exam ever. So apparently, I know
Really?
Vietnamese better than I know English, which kind of sucks. But
Hmm.
so that basically created a lot of trauma for me in a way. This idea that you can work at your 100% and it's still not enough. Like that was reminded and ingrained in me in high school because I almost failed out of high school. I was in the IB program. I had to drop everything, get a bunch of tutors, and trying to get in dental school. I didn't get in my first try. And then while in dental school, I was failing the first few classes, so I was studying every second of the day, and I still was not able to pass some of the classes at the beginning. And so this idea that you can do everything in your power to try to get to your goal, it's not enough. And so just like Inception, that idea was, planted within me during practice ownership, like you're not doing enough, you're not doing enough. Like you cannot fail, like the stakes are high. You have a family to take care of. My family, everyone's saying, oh, if you're going to business ownership, you're going to be a cold-hearted capitalist. You're not going to care about family. You shouldn't own a business. So there's a lot of things riding on it, and so that guilt kind of stuck with me. And over time, you learn as an entrepreneur to, and maybe it's not everyone's journey, but I imagine it's a common thread, that you get disconnected from your feelings a little bit because there's a lot of trauma that you have to run through. And so getting disconnected to that didn't allow me to get connected to desire and fulfillment and enjoyment.
Hmm.
And so with guilt, disconnecting to enjoyment, you kind of go down a path where there wasn't a lot of purpose for me. I was disconnected to purpose. And so that's kind of like the root of it all. And then you combine it with, low dopamine, low serotonin. You don't have the positive reinforcement loop of like, oh, I won this game. I feel good. Let me keep going on that journey. So it
Yeah.
created kind of like a situation where I was operating under obligation versus desire. So,
Yeah, I mean, I could totally relate to that. I feel like I did that for so many years, and For me, it was like this workaholism, and people are like, "Man, how did you put so much time into your practice?" And I tell them it just came easy. I was drawn to it. Like I was getting those dopamine hits, and I was getting, but at the same time, I was like completely neglecting like all the relationships in my life, you know. And then when I had time for those relationships, I would be drawn back to the practice because it was like it was my comfort zone, and it was like what got me up in the
Mhm.
morning. But then you reach a point where you realize, you know, and I could totally agree with you, showing up for obligation. There was no desire for me to be there anymore. Do you remember when you made this transition and you started pulling yourself out or started adding associates? Was there a specific situation that was like that was the one where you're like, okay, it's time to do something different?
Yeah, I think it was, I'm going on this journey, and some of my friends would ask me, why are you doing all this? You know, I'm like, oh, I'm doing this to create, this idea, this ideal, utopia of infinite money and infinite time, right? And then one of my friends asked me, what's stopping you from doing that now? And it's like, huh, well, I guess I'm just hiring the associate and just jumping into the fire. Luckily, I, live within my means. And so I had enough saved up to, have the tokenized time through having extra money to try to find myself. So it was really that question of like, you chose to go on this journey to buy 10 offices in 10 years, you're not enjoying the journey. You don't know why. You feel obligated to do so, and the goal that you want, this time factor, this unlimited time to take care of your family, isn't that available to you now? And so I was like, huh, I guess it is if I want it to be. Let me experiment and jump into that and just see how I feel. And
Hmm.
at the time, I was working with Alistair, and he was just trying to connect me to feelings, connect me to what I do truly enjoy, and that there exists another option of enjoying the journey, even though, we kind of get into this like, we're going to sacrifice ourselves, go through the grind, it doesn't matter about the journey. It matters about the end point. And so I just
Hmm.
wanted to experiment. I wanted to see what that was like. And so as I got into it more and more, the dental practice slowly became not only like an asset that I'm working on, but I reframed it for myself, unintentionally, really, as like this dojo of a place where I can learn leadership, this dojo
Hmm.
of a place where I can learn how to take care of myself to the highest degree, this dojo where I can learn to do public speaking, this dojo where I can learn numbers. And once I reframed it like that for myself, things just got easier. Like I started to enjoy things more. And so it was that question, it was that inquiry, it was that sequence of events that allowed me to kind of make that transition.
It's amazing, man. I love that, and it's such a good mindset shift for so many dentists that are just feeling like they're grinding all day and wondering why it's not coming easy to them. And you mentioned school, like when I was in dental school, like I did really good in undergrad, and it came fairly easy to me. But when I got to dental school, everybody was partying and doing whatever the hell they wanted, and I was going home studying morning till night, and I was barely pulling C's and D's. Like it was as good as I could do. And there was so much identity crisis wrapped into that. Like, wow,
Yeah.
maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I'm not good enough to be here. And I never framed it as like, hey, I'm learning to struggle. I'm learning to be resilient. It was
Mhm.
always just this woe is me. Like, God, my life is so hard. And I think a lot of dentists put themselves through that and just don't see how much growth is possible. I love that you shared that. Now, talk about what is your practice life like now? Because I want to talk about like the biohacking and all the stuff that you found out as you started to work on yourself. But what does it look like now at the practice for you? Like how involved are you?
Yeah. We recently expanded from 5 ops, one of the practices from 5 ops to 12 ops. And so I
Hmm.
used to do like 1 to 2 days a week as I was like working in my wife's functional medicine practice. Now I'm at 2 to 3 days a week. I kind of want to ramp it up. We made large investments to kind of get to that next level of practice ownership, to have a little bit more associates, to move away from risk, sometimes having a 5 op practice makes it a little bit more challenging to have two dentists in the office. I mean, it's
Yeah.
great. I had, one of the offices, I had, the 5 hour practice. I have the 5 hour practice, and it was great. With the new associate, they take on a lot of the fillings. You start doing the complex stuff. Um, but now, as we're ramping up, I'm doing about 2, 3 days a week, and I'm looking to probably scale back to 1 day a week as I make the transition over to the functional medicine practice a little bit more. I just love the biohacking stuff. I just love the work that I love solving those problems because
Mhm.
we're finding out there's so many people that tolerate their health condition, and I was one of those people, and I didn't know what was possible, how I could feel, and things like autoimmune diseases. Uh, Conventional medicine doesn't have an answer for it, but it's like classic textbook leaky gut stuff, So
Mhm.
you fix that, and all of a sudden your skin rashes go away. And so we typically fix low energy, sleep issues, um, anxiety and a mood imbalance, and then gut problems. And I had all of those things. And so solving those problems not only leveled up my own life, but it like really resonates with me. And so right now I very much enjoy the like performance and health coaching of people in her practice and entrepreneurs as well. So
Yeah, and these are issues that everybody's going through. I mean, I would say I don't know what the percentage is, but it's got to be almost everybody. I remember one of my mentors, Dr. Bruce Baird, and he told me when he presents night guards, he says, and when you grind your teeth and clench, it affects the way you sleep. And then he says, do you feel like you've been tired lately? And 100% of the time, people go, yeah, yes. Yeah, I am tired because we're all freaking tired, right? And there's probably a lot of the all same issues underneath it. So talk to me about how do you guys make the assessment? How does somebody get into this and like what is this process and what kind of things are you looking for? And just like enlighten me on this new type of medicine that some people might not have heard of.
yeah, so my wife owns the telemed functional medicine practice. I know we were talking earlier, but it's crazy how physicians, with a couple clicks of a button in an application, they can have licenses in multiple states and some different countries as well. And so she's been very fortunate to be able to work from home and basically send all the testing to people's homes, and then you just take the blood tests and stool tests and take it to the place on the directions. So it's pretty streamlined in that sense. But basically, depending on what profile that you have, like what symptoms that you have. So, for example, if you have low energy, right? There's different kinds of possibilities that you have low energy. Do you break down proteins correctly? We don't really look at these things. Do you break down, how efficient do you break down your fats? You know, um, is it your interpretation of energy that is a little bit off? AKA, you feel like you have low energy, but really you just have low dopamine. You can't get yourself to do the things that are hard. And so there are different tests that test for that. So basically, stool testing, urine tests, blood tests, um, help us find these things. And so, in other words, there's a number, like all the tests that we do right now in medicine, like the normal tests that we all know about, they're so outdated. They're
Mm-hmm.
super outdated. There's super new tests out there, and we're just not taking advantage of it. And it's crazy when as you dig deeper and deeper and deeper into this world, you get really angry because I've seen some like Facebook groups, and they'll say things like, "Oh, don't talk about gut biome here. Like we're all about prescribing the medications, and so if you're about that, you're not welcome into this Facebook group." And then you start looking under the cover, and you're like, who like owns this Facebook group? And then you start saying, okay, it's like the prescription companies. They're
Mm-hmm.
throwing money at these things, and so they're purposely trying to like push the root cause of the disease because they get paid and incentivized to solve the symptoms and not solve the root cause of disease. Um, so yeah, I was in one of Faustine's masterminds. Faustine's my wife, one of her masterminds, and I was blown away that in the cohort of their organization of functional medicine doctors, 70% of people that report higher than normal anxiety is due to yeast overgrowth.
Hmm.
And I was like, wait, like I must have heard this wrong. You know, I'm not a numbers guy, but I know numbers enough to be like 7% is is an absurdly high number, you know? And so if we believe that to be true, or if it's possible that that is true, the way we're practicing medicine as a country is very incorrect. A lot
Hmm.
of it is diet and nutrition. And so philosophically in the functional medicine world, there's two ways to, at least from my lens, there's two ways you solve disease. One, you optimize the body's healing potential, or you find out the root causes of disease. And so with these tests, you basically get all the metabolites that, like all the not all, but a lot of the biochemical reactions that go through the body. So for instance, if you're, you're not able to connect to fulfillment, you just like, you don't feel happiness a lot. You always feel like you're crashing. You're looking at the metabolites of serotonin. So if A plus B equals C, and C is serotonin, if B is low, but A is high, you just need more B.
Hmm.
It's that simple. So once you have the guide map, it's kind of a clear cut pathway to how to help yourself. And so a lot of it's diet.
Give me an example of something that you were experiencing and what you found out and how you treated it and how you feel now.
Yeah. So we did the oats test for me, one of the tests. It's called organic acids test. And at the time before that, I shared with you that I had focus issues, right? I didn't know at the time. My operating system was that of obligation. You know, I should do this. Uh, I didn't operate under desire, right? If I wanted to do something, it was really hard to get the thing done, right? But if like things were hitting the fan and I had to get it done, I got it done.
Mhm.
And that's just the way I assumed my normal function. I also avoided my family a lot in a lot of ways. Doing the dishes was very difficult, right? Like doing chores were difficult. And so I went through the testing. One of the tests was the oats test. We found out that I had yeast overgrowth, I had leaky gut. There's a test that allows you to measure that by measuring the zonulin levels. Zonulin is a component of the inner lining of the gut. And so if you're shedding a lot of inner lining of the gut, test shows high. That's not good. You have leaky gut. Okay. I was tired, but I didn't know I was tired. I only know that now because I have more energy. Uh, and I also had dysbiosis, which is I had a lot of bad bacteria, and I was like missing like 9 of the 12 or something like that good gut bacteria in my gut. And so uh, some of the gut bacteria recycles things like your neurotransmitters or estrogen. Like imagine if you didn't have that and you're a woman, for example, like how much would that affect you? And
Mhm.
so went through that process. I took a number of supplements. I went on a kill protocol to kill the yeast. We tried probiotics at first, didn't work well for me, actually caused a lot of diarrhea because my
Mhm.
gut wasn't healthy yet. It wasn't strong enough to handle that. And so there's an order to these things. Uh, in order to kill the yeast, for me, we went under a high concentration of garlic extract and a high concentration of oregano extract because those are natural killers. And so philosophically, at least the way my wife likes to practice functional medicine, she recommends things that the body naturally breaks down versus things that the body doesn't know what to do with that causes second order consequences, you know. And so went through the kill protocol, felt really crummy for a while, and this was 2 months, something like that, 2 months of that type of kill protocol. And there's a number of other things too, like binders. Whenever you kill bad stuff, it gets out into the system. You want to bind it up, you know, so that you feel less effects of it. Um,
Mhm.
went on some binders. Once the kill protocol was done, I immediately noticed after 3 weeks that like colors were more vibrant. And it sounds like really woo-woo stuff, but colors were more vibrant. I started to have a better connection. It's gonna sound weird. Hopefully I'm not crazy. I had a better connection to my inner voice. So like
Mhm.
self-awareness started to tick up. I noticed that when I got home, like normally I always feel like a tendency to like, I need some time to myself. And that was an example of me trying to recover my neurotransmitters. I need some time to myself to, wow, I really look forward to seeing my family now and I can just see them and be fine. I used to, whenever I have social events, it's very stimulating for me. I'm actually like an introvert, and so the next day I'll typically have a crash, and I wouldn't want to see
Yeah.
anyone. I wouldn't want to do anything. I basically sapped all my dopamine and serotonin, so therefore I needed to recover that. I noticed that I could have a social event, and then the next day I could be very productive.
Mm.
Uh, and so things like that were what showed up for me. And so it was like a sixth sense kind of turned on. I started to enjoy my hobbies a little bit more. I started to drop bad habits. It's almost like my emotions. It's like I didn't have my emotions didn't have memories in a way. It's kind of hard to explain. If you don't have a strong connection to your emotions, you don't remember the bad things that keep coming up for you. So, like negative habits, right? Like bad habits. If you're really connected to it, you realize, okay, the voice turns up. If I do that thing, I know this will happen, and I know this will happen. If I drink that drink, I'll feel crummy the next day. If I feel crummy the next day, I won't be productive. I can't take care of my family, right? For me, that entire loop was non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that I had more self awareness, stronger connection to fulfillment, I'd be like, if I drink that drink, I know that feeling of feeling bad. I don't want that feeling of feeling bad. Therefore, I'm not going to do that thing because it feels bad. So that's what I mean by my emotions didn't have memories in a way. Like that was, it's all kind of trippy. And I hope I'm not just like going out
No.
a really deep tunnel here, like by
Well,
myself.
I feel like there's a lot of to behavior that it's like we all have free will, and I think most people would agree that we have free will, but I think there's so much physiologically happening that really kind of distracts from that free will. And I'll give you an example. My wife does not drink just an ounce of alcohol. She does not drink alcohol. And she sometimes, like, I have to bring her down a little bit because she'll get on her soapbox and she'll talk about, I don't need to drink to have fun. I don't need it. And like it's like, well, when you have one or two drinks, babe, like you'll get a migraine for 4 days. So if
Mm,
I had that experience, I probably wouldn't drink either. But I will
yeah.
tell you, as somebody who was a very heavy drinker for a very long time, is around, man, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I got to a point where I realized I was just getting really blackout a lot. And when I slowed it down, I was like, I got to do something. I didn't completely abstain. I did for a little bit. I did for about 6 weeks. But it helped me realize what a slow burn that was. And it just completely, like, I was so clouded. I had this fog over me that I didn't even know was there because it was like, it was such a slow go. It took so many years to build up. And once I got out of that, I felt so good that when it came down to time to go out drinking with friends, instead of having 16, 20 drinks, I'd have like four at max
Mm.
because I didn't want to feel that the next day. And it's almost like I had to go through that to realize that. But that's what I'm almost hearing you saying is that you these things that you know are going to make you feel bad, you don't want to do them anymore, and you start taking your health more a priority, which I think is such a cool thing.
Yeah, how did you get out of it? Like, what made you realize that like enough is enough, or
Oh,
that?
well, yeah, that's a long story, but I mean, it was me getting pretty blackout drunk and doing something very stupid, and essentially, it essentially being like, wow, this is like the eighth time I blacked out in the past like 3 months, where it would usually be like I might have one night like that a year. I'm like, well, this is starting to become a pretty regular occurrence. So it was just like a bad night. It was a team function. It was with the whole office. It was with the dental office, and it was I'm going to tell the story because I think that the listeners might want to hear it. We had a
Yeah.
new person on the team, and she brought her husband, and her husband looked around and said, hey, how many people are here? I'm buying everybody a shot. He bought 32 shots, and only 14 people took them. So there was a tray of another 16 shots sitting there, and wouldn't you know, he kept saying, we got to drink these somehow, and we did. And yeah, and yeah, it didn't end well. It turned out to be a night that I regret. But it's I guess that would be my rock bottom. But there's so much I think in dental that we shut down, we don't feel, we don't get in touch with, and we think it's just us. And we don't realize that a lot of people are having these same issues. I mean, have you seen that as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's being a dentist and being an entrepreneur is so hard, you know. You're trying to find the MB2 canal and you walk by one room, you hear your front office team member talk to a patient and you're cringing on how the verbiage went or the exchange. You keep walking and then your hygienist is sitting there like pointing to their watch and being like, what's going on? You still haven't found the MB2 and you get to the room and the files that you want aren't even set up and you're just like on like an emotional roller coaster. And that's
That
not
happens to
even,
you too?
you know, and it's just like like a certain part of you almost has to die in that suffering, you know, you're tolerating so many things. It's very hard to process all that without space.
Yeah.
And so now you factor in dental practice isn't as profitable as you want it to. We haven't even talked about the family life, you know?
Yeah.
Like this is just like a regular day in the dentist office. And so it's so challenging, you know, and I really feel for the dentists that are out there that don't have the space to process these things. You know, you mentioned that it was a regret you hit rock bottom, but you know, I mean, you're an amazing person from our interactions and from the platform that you have. And
Uh,
from my lens, I see that that event was like almost a necessary event to create extreme emotion, to change behavior and change
yeah.
your life, right?
So yeah,
And
so
that's what's
true.
needed. We're so addicted to our past, our like our neural pathways. We're addicted to our past self, you know, and
Yeah.
you need almost like a violent act to have change, to
So
have
true.
emotional memory in a way, right?
And I know like my rock bottom, there's people could be like, well, this was my rock bottom. That ain't nothing. I'm not here to compare rock bottoms. But it's well, talk about how you were kind of frustrated with your practice life. Now you did change some things in your professional life, but you also
Mhm.
made some health changes. I mean, I know it's a combination of both, but can you explain to like how much it was just making the organizational changes at the office versus how much was making changes in your health that led you to this outlook and where you're at today?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest changes to be, I guess, try to be unique on your podcast, and at the same time, things that really resonate with me. I go back to the original core. There's a quote that I live by, and it's the one that is response able is responsible. It's something that my mentor has shared with me. The one that is response able is responsible. And so as I walk through the practice, I notice that, you know, I have the luxury of really working on myself and having a lot of self-awareness and knowing how I come off and knowing how the practice moves based on me being the bottleneck. And as I started to develop that sense of feeling good, I started to really pay attention to how others feel good. And so little things like creating a reflection exercise for myself of being like what were my last three interactions with every single team member? And then as I was reflecting, I'm like, especially at the beginning, a lot of them were just like criticism. A lot of them was like, this needs to be better, or like, oh, some sort of management conversation to optimize something. And as I was seeking feeling good or wanting to feel good about my day to day, like how do I feel good about my day to day? How do I craft a schedule where I feel good? And as I was going through that journey, I was thinking about my team members. How can I make them feel good day to day? We started working on positives every single day, and you start to realize, like in our morning huddles, where it's like you're supposed to share a positive, some people will share negatives, and it's like, huh, that's an interesting observation. Like some
Mhm.
people don't know how to be positive, just like me, right? And so focusing on that allowed me to ask more questions to help people own their problems more, create an environment where they want to do the work versus they're doing it because I told them to do it. Because if I tell them to do it, they're only going to do the things that I tell them to do versus solve problems that I didn't even say. So creating an environment, like creating a true business and becoming a true leader that um, goes on the journey with my team and allows them to have their wins. And I celebrate their wins, and they can feel pride and get connected to pride. So for me, it was very much like the feelings side of things. And once I focused on that, I didn't have to do as much. The practice naturally got better. People solved their own problems without coming to me. And so I started to enjoy the whole thing more. So I really chop it up to like that simple inception idea of how do I feel good about myself? How do I feel good about my day to day? How do I craft the perfect day? How do I craft the perfect day for my team member? So
Yeah.
that's what I
Well,
would put.
it's intentionality. I mean, it's like you're getting very intentional
Yeah.
about creating the experience that you want. And I think we could all learn a little bit from that. What remind me of is when I used to have, I did a thing where I wrote every team member and I put, I made a table on Word and I put their initials and I put it on my wall because I didn't want anyone on my team to know what it was. It was like secret. But what it was is that I was going to give each of them 2 compliments a week. And I'm like,
Mhm.
this is going to be easy. Write it down. You'd be surprised. You don't give as many compliments as you want, and there are people on your team you completely
Oh yeah.
forget about. They,
Oh
they haven't
yeah.
got a compliment from you in
Sure.
years. So
Yeah.
it's interesting, like because but what I did is I said I want to be appreciative and I want to show that, and I want to like I got systematic about it, and wouldn't you know, yeah, it didn't happen, and that's what I think. I hear you saying, like doing this reflection exercise. I'm thinking about my last interactions with my team members right now. I think I, I think I might owe them an apology a little bit, But so talk about, tell me about like something. Is there anything that you look back like early in your career, like from right when you graduated, when you first entered into practice ownership, that you kind of look back at now and you're just like, I just can't believe I did that. Like I can't believe I thought that way from something you've learned.
I guess just the idea of like grinding it out. I think I was just so hardcore in like, if you want to be successful by your own definition, you have to sacrifice and you have to suffer. And of course, that's true, right? Of course, like that is part of the journey. But it was almost like you have to suffer and there's no opportunity to enjoy. You're not supposed to enjoy. You have to grind it out. You have to keep sacrificing. And I think as entrepreneurs, when you sacrifice, if you really think about what you're sacrificing, you realize that that sacrifice is truly not worth it. And for me, it was health. For me, it was that fulfillment. And of course, I didn't really care about fulfillment back then, like it was like, whatever, I'm good without it. Like I'm good to just keep going. But now that I'm a little bit older now and I have just a little bit more gray hairs, I just see that if you extrapolate your life out into the future to the 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, whatever, right? Health starts to become the most important investment. And that sacrifice, especially seeing patients and other entrepreneurs sacrifice their health, it's like, wow, that guy didn't sleep for like 3 months and something's wrong. Oh, that person, they have body tremors every single night because they had a very traumatic, like rape incident when they were younger and they can't get rid of it, but they're trying to grind it out even further.
Mm-hmm.
Like when are we going to address these things? And so being hyper connected to that, and then looking back at those days that I made the sacrifice, I just think there's a better way. I think if you follow, like, try to follow the fulfillment pathway, you can go through the process even faster and enjoy the process. Like, yes, it's going to be hard, but really finding your passion, climbing the right mountain. Because if I climb the mountain of buying 10 practices, these are like 10 practices in 10 years. Like, what is that? I'm just like, pick 10, and then I'm done, right? That's my
Yeah.
goal. I think like you could waste a lot of time going down the wrong path, your own journey, whatever that means, So climb the
Yeah.
right mountain, follow your heart, follow what feels good.
That's great
Don't ignore
advice,
it.
man.
Don't
I
ignore
love
it.
it. So if people want to learn more about like how can I get tested, how do I find out if my gut biome is all good? Like, talk about that where listeners can reach out to you there and find out, get some help in that regard.
Yeah, you can find us at guthormoneclinic.com. Uh, Send us a message through that platform. My email is dinhpeter@gmail.com. You can email me. I have a YouTube channel. I have an Instagram channel too if you want to look me up. So pretty easy, pretty down to earth, easy to reach.
Awesome. And that'll all be in the show notes, listeners. So, dude, Peter, thanks so much for coming on, man. I think you've got so much wisdom, and it's been beneficial for me to hear your story. I mean, honestly, like I can relate to so much of what you're saying, and I've never went down this like functional medicine hole before, or at least not with myself. And I'm interested to see what I find. But I think you've got just a wealth of wisdom, and I think you've talked to a lot of dentists today that are thinking, well, man, maybe I need to do some things a little bit differently now. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you too. I enjoyed our conversation. It's always fun to see communities collide together and see what kind of magic is created from that. So hopefully this was valuable to your audience and listeners.
Awesome. All right, dude. That was easy. You're easy, man. I love easy guests. You good storyteller, dude. I mean, do you rehearse this stuff?
Not really. I mean, I've done this a few times on other podcasts and stuff like that, but I think that's why like